All right, here's my audience. All right, my name is DeShaw, and my speech is on agriculture in Brazil. Agriculture in this part of the world is only one type that is out there. Agriculture is a big part in any society. Without agriculture in a society, there would not be any food or crops to help make clothes and other products that we use and wear every day. Today I am going to take the time to discuss with you the process of agriculture in Brazil. Agriculture is important to the Brazilian people, so we're going to cover some of the things that go into that process. First, we're going to talk about the history of agriculture. Second, we're going to talk about all the commodities that they have. And third, a couple of problems that the farmers have faced and overcome. There are three distinct agriculture areas in Brazil. There is the southern Brazil, northeast Brazil, and central Brazil. In southern Brazil, this makes up close to 2/3 of the country and is characterized by a semi-temperature or moderate climate. The soils here are fertile and higher rainfall levels ensure that crops are well irrigated. This area is also home to most advanced farming technologies and farmers with extended experience. Therefore, this region produces most of the country's grain exports and oilseeds. Next, we're going to move on to northeast Brazil. This agricultural area is fair, dry, and less equipped. It often succumbs to droughts and lacks infrastructure, capital, and goods due to minimum rainfall. This area is occupied mainly by subsequent farmers. However, there are certain crops from this region that are essential for export, such as tropical fruits and forest products. Last, we move on to central Brazil. It has 4 generations been considered to be unsustainable for farmers. However, this area is not booming, being for mechanicalized crops. Vast expanses of this land are still not developed, being used only in pasture, but have the potential to produce excellent farming and exporting crops. This area was once very isolated due to there being a lack of roads and other important infrastructures. That all changed in 1960 when Brasilia was established and made the new country's capital. Livestock farming began in the area and was thought to be the only viable type of agriculture since the soils were poor and quality unable to sustain crops. It was discovered that soybeans actually thrived in these conditions. Since the indigenous people with their primitive farming, there has been a great gradual increase in the process of agriculture and exporting. Brazil has been expanding its agricultural role to that point where agriculture is one of the highlights of the economy, with potential to expand further by improving the quality of product. The land management at first it was based solely on fire to open clearing for cultivation. In addition to rapid land clearance, this provided ashes for use as fertilizer and a covering for the soil. They also created garden areas in locations carefully selected to allow interactions within the surrounding nature. They conserved the environment in exchange for hunting the animals and protecting themselves against the pests. Next, we are going to move on to the commodities that they produce. First is corn. Brazilian corn production is concentrated in the states of Paraná, which has since 2000 produced on average 26.75% of the corn in Brazil. The second commodity is rice. Productively per hectare was surged 61% since 1990, but production remains highly concentrated on the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which grows on average 48% of all rice in Brazil. Third is soybeans. Brazil is the world's second largest producer of soybeans. Brazilian soybean production has increased more than 3,000% in the last 35 years. Soybean and soybean derivatives export in 2005 alone earn $9 billion for Brazil. Next is wheat. Brazil's tropical climate is not very sustainable for growing wheat, so 2 of Brazil's coldest states account for 90% of the wheat production in Brazil. Despite the internal production, they have to import $700 million of wheat every year. The last commodity is sugarcane. Brazil during its early colonial time depended heavily on sugarcane for its economical well-being. Today, Brazil leads the world in sugarcane production. Sugarcane production is concentrated in 8 Brazilian states. These states are responsible for 90% of the total production. Next, we're going to move on to the problems that Brazilian farmers ran into. 65% of Brazil's greenhouse gas emissions are the result of deforestation and changes in land use to pave the way for production of livestock and crops. Brazil's greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture have increased 41% between 1990 and 2005. Cattle are a major factor for these emissions. The Brazilian National Institute for Space Research and the University of Brasilia concluded fully half of Brazil's greenhouse gas emissions between 2003 and 2008 came from the cattle sector. Brazil's cattle and soy production are concentrated in the legal Amazon and Cerrado grassland regions and have resulted in considerable biodiversity loss, deforestation, and water pollution. Almost 386,000 square miles have burned and are now cattle pastured or are cultivated for soybeans, corn, and sugarcane for ethanol production. Now that we have went over some of the aspects of agriculture in Brazil, you should have a good understanding of the history of the agriculture and the people that have affected the process and what it is today. You should also know the different types of commodities and some problems that they have overcome throughout the years.